Alright, well, here we are for the second video. Basically, the second video is about obsessive thinking, the obsessive thinking. Now, for me, I was never really, obsessed with them. Like, a lot of you might have had that experience. I did have an experience of obsession, and it did have to do with them, but I never had the experience that it was me. So I've always at least had that clarity. But at the same time, just because of that, the amount of craziness that I was immediately opened up to was just far greater than what I hear anybody really talking about here, and so I've pretty much seen it all, in terms of where it can go, how crazy it could possibly get, and stuff like that. And I could basically tell you what matters, and it isn't a lot of the stuff that people worry about, especially whenever it comes to certainly whenever it comes to their twin flame. There's a lot of the stuff that they worry about, just they really don't need to worry about anything. If they didn't worry about anything regarding the other person at all ever, they would never want to be away. Anyway, let me get into the obsessive thinking. So how I experienced it, and this is how I know it's unlike how you guys are experiencing it. You can get to this point, and I'm trying to get you there, right? But basically, how I experienced it at first was as now she had there was a the push pull, right? And then they come and they go sometimes. They go and they come back and then they go again, right? So she did that like 7 or 8 times, and that 8th or 9th time that she did it, I don't know what happened, because it wasn't me. That it's like something happened, and it was just okay. So let me talk about when she would come and when she would leave, right? So she would, whenever she would come back, okay, so the first time she left, a lot of you experience the craziness on the first time they leave. So the first time she left, supposedly it was really, really brutal or something like that. From a certain perspective. From another perspective, it's just nothing really happened, and we were never together, it was just a girl that liked a guy, and then she had came and left 3 or 4 times until she got to the point where she was telling me how much she liked me, and that she didn't want to be with me because she was scared of how much she liked me, and she didn't know what she would do. And then a couple days later, next time I saw her, she was trying to do everything she could to convince me it was just a crush. I mean, I don't really care, you know what I mean? So she was this is how I was experiencing it. All kinds of stuff was just happening. I was kind of just living my life, minding my own business, and it wasn't I was just off secluded by myself. No, I was fully in the mix of socializing and doing stuff. I was a football player, basketball I was very active, I was popular, social, all this sorts of stuff. I would have been the jock probably that everybody liked, and was nice to everybody and was friends with everybody, not a mean person or anything like that. I would have been that jock, that the mean jocks would not really like behind their back, but they'd be like, oh, we'll be friends and stuff and it's cool, and it's really not personal, because I really be chilling, and we really be hanging out. It's just whenever I leave, they're just oh, I can't do all the bad shit that I want to do, because it's and I don't feel like it's bad. It's just well, some things I would say, whenever they're doing stuff that hurts, harms, manipulates, in like a cruel way, you know what I mean? It's one thing to like manipulate someone in a way to like that like steers them away from danger, you know, in a way that like if they're not paying attention, it could be catastrophic for them, especially if it's catastrophic for not just them. That's when it's like that's when you it's good to know how to do that kind of thing, because it's like someone who's like steering a ship, a cruise ship, you know, into like straight into oblivion, and he swears he's going to the destination, and you're just like, bro, you got to turn around, and you have to find some way to manipulate, but like in a way that's not harmful. You know what I mean? Like it's not doing anything that's gonna hurt anybody, or that's taking advantage of anybody. You know what I mean? So there's that kind of manipulation. But I would say, where was I? Anyway, so there's all kinds of like she's doing all kinds of stuff. I swear, and like I'm from one perspective, it looks like I'm getting game ran on me like crazy, and like it looks like that. But from my perspective, I was always just sitting there watching all of this stuff happen, and I was never really a part of it. But at some point, I'm telling you, like the 8th or 9th time she left, like something like clicked and it like snapped onto me, and I couldn't get it off. It was like a strange experience, and it like then I became it. It was like that was my experience, and I was like fully in it, even though I knew I had both. I had both experience, both perspectives. So I fully went through one. Like you have to fully go through it, is what I'm saying. So, you know, a lot of the people, everyone's trying to find some way to bypass it. I'm telling you, no bypassing. You actually have to go all the way through it, experience everything there is to experience, everything that it has to offer, basically. All right. Now, how it's experienced can happen. Many of you experienced it against your will, which I guess you could say is by God's will, which is outlined in astrology, you know, which is the things that happen whether you like it or not, because you're pushed and pulled by them, and there's just energy, like the energies flow through you, and they're pulling strings in you that you think are you, you know, so it's happening, and they're doing it, which is really you, and you're doing it, which is really also them, and it's like, you know, but the way that I saw it, I was clearly seeing, like, I see what she's doing, I don't know why she's doing it, but then whenever it happened, she knew the instant that it, like, latched onto me, she was like, yes, success, gotcha, and I'm just like, what? But then it's like, yeah, so went through that's when the dark night of the soul, I guess you could say, is what people call it. It's not really a thing, it's just a kind of an experience that egos have. That's an experience that it's just a name that it's been given, and it's a useful name because it's a the reason why it exists is because back in Greco-Roman times, which is where the term comes from, basically, is, or like the ideology behind the term, maybe not the actual term, but they used to have these rites of passage. Now there's other tribes and stuff that try to induce this sort of thing, but for usually war purposes, but this was for essentially spiritual and psychedelic purpose, which is to induce this, what we call the dark night of the soul experience, by trying to create the necessary conditions artificially to get it to happen, right? And so Dark Night of the Soul happens, and dude, now I don't know about y'all, but like for me it was like really bad, you know, but it was like I said, I have these two perspectives. Like from one perspective it was really, really bad, and it's like there were a lot of times where I wanted to tap out, but it's like even if because it was a couple times where I did try, but there was always a couple times where I tried, a couple times where I didn't try, and that's kind of like where I knew, and it wasn't even just this vague knowing, like it's more than that, but it's just I'm not gonna say it, but basically it's like I wasn't supposed to die, at least at that time, you know, everybody's gonna die, you know, and it's not to say that I couldn't have died, but I didn't. And I don't think I was supposed to. And it's like, if you guys knew kind of like what I went through, you would be shocked that I'm not dead. And especially considering my condition right now, considering what I have gone through, you would expect like a World War II victim in some, like, to some degree. I wouldn't say that it's that bad, but it's like, you wouldn't expect what you see, which is like, it doesn't look like anything happened at all. In fact, it looks like I'm doing very well. That's what it looks like. And it's not to say it just looks, but I'm just saying. Now, anyway, the whole twin flame thing, and this all is for you too. I'm not just blowing smoke out my ass. This is all for you too. I'm telling you what this is. Everything I say has a purpose. Basically, it's for your experience. It's to know stuff that you will have, why you're going through the functionally, mechanically, purposefully, why you're going through the things you're going through, as well as like some of the things that you become that happen to you. But in a way that's not like, oh, we're talking about fairies and angels. No, just telling you what happens. Anyway. So Dark Night of Soul happened in the full throes of it. I was like that for a long time, but and this is another thing that always used to bug me is people talk about union like it's some big thing, but it's like, and it is, but not the union that they're referring to, which is just the conventional breaking up and coming back together. And now it's what is unconventional is that it's happening between the twin flames, but what is unconventional in the sense that it's not something as of yet that has happened in humanity. Even the terminology specifically is fairly recent, but it's not to say that there aren't people who have known. It's just that there are people who don't talk about it for that very reason, is because whenever the general nomenclature catches a hold of these sorts of things, it tends to become fanatical, like trendy. And then it's just like, that's when it's like, oh, I met my twin flame, and then, oh, we broke up, and then, the separation, and we're supposed to, oh, and then we came to union, and then there's like these the people say it's demonic or it's narcissistic or something like that, but it's mostly because of how humans do stuff, but it's not because of, and the reason why also it with actual twin flames that it happens like that is because it's trying to really like a jackhammer, like destabilize the foundation of that kind of I want to say belief, but like those sorts of things, it's more than belief. Like the most accurate terminology for it would actually be your karma, but I'm gonna save karma talks for a little bit of another day. Anyway, why they're doing that is not an accident, and they're doing that because, well, you're human, and that's how humans do relationships and stuff. And there is also like a lot of like in terms of how relationships naturally, and I mean what twin flames are a reflection of is how relationships naturally work, by the way. So that's why I'm trying not to say that it's some special thing. It's just special in terms of right now, in terms of where humanity is like barely created a terminology for it, like I said, right? So, but it's not to say that people haven't known before. Like, anyway, we are not gonna go in a circle, just tying it up like a bow. Anyway, so going through the Dark Night of Soul, but while I was going through it, she was always right there, like always right there, and I did not want her there. Like, not that I actively was like, because if I was active like go away, she would, but she would go like far away to some degree, but there was always usually a way for her to come like right back, but it was always like that, like she was always like right next to me, basically, whether she wanted to be or not. And that's kind of like a lot of the stuff that I'm saying on this channel, like especially whenever it comes to something I'm going to talk about later too, is like mirroring and how that works, and which is also partially hold on, But the mechanics behind that is like, behind mirroring is like, it does actually work a certain way, and it's for a very specific purpose, but, and it actually is real, very, very real, as you all know, obviously. Are you just, right now it's a very, very strong suspicion because you don't allow yourself to know stuff, you don't allow yourself to see stuff yet, and it's like, it's not just, oh, like, oh yes, that's it right there, I got it, and it's like just being concluded about it, and then just, no, it's not that. There, it's about, anyway, let's not stick into the topic. Anyway, Dark Night of the Soul, separation union, yeah. So she was always like there, even though we were in what I would call separation. Real separation is what I would call real separation, even though real separation is just an illusion. That's what you learn. I probably shouldn't have said that, but anyway, it's good to hear some things, but I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Anyway, so she was always like there, and like would come back, and like would leave and stuff like that. But I was never, like, everyone tries so hard to get their twin flame back and stuff like that. And what I'm saying is, like, it's natural for them to be there. Like, it's natural for them to be there. It really is. So if they're doing the exact opposite, they're doing so intentionally. Okay? Very intentionally. Because whenever it comes to, that's why, some people say they're the Matrix twin, which is in a sense true. Because, like, you have the spiritual sense, they have the matrix, the sense of energy, so they can kind of tell, like, where you're at based on the energy. Like, they can really feel you out, and they can, like, know how to avoid you completely, just be, like, and it's not how you experience it. It's just like they just don't want to, and so they do what they know would take them away. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not even really an intellectual thing. It's way beyond, like, logic, right? But anyway, how would I say? Damn it, this is dragging out. Okay, Dark Night of the Soul, right? Yeah, the whole separation thing that I just talked about. And this went on for like 15, 16, 17 years. Like a long time. And we weren't like together during that time, but she was always like around. Or if she wasn't around, she was always on my social media or something like that. Because like maybe there's times where she couldn't be around because I went away, and stuff like that. And she couldn't get to me, which is, there was like a long period of time, like years. Because I'll say there's, if it goes on for a period of time where she's not able to see me or she's not able to know what I'm doing, she gets sick and she starts freaking out, and I can feel it, and I start getting freaking out and start getting frantic and stuff, and start like feeling what she's going through, obviously. But then it's like, when she finds me, I know she did. And now she feels like she can get to me whenever she wants, which is just like, it's like the worst. To me, it felt like the worst feeling. To me, it felt like the worst feeling ever. Like, for the longest time, I was like, it was like I dreaded going outside because I didn't want to see her. Like, and it wasn't because I didn't like her or didn't want to see her, really. It was like I was busy. I was doing what I'm trying to teach you guys. I was doing this, but it's like, damn, it like, that whole thing. And I wish that I didn't push I wish I didn't push at all, because that's what I'm trying to teach you guys. I'm trying to help you guys with this, all right? I wish I didn't push at all, but yeah, it is what it is. But what is the video about? Oh, the obsessive thinking. So anyway, you go through all that, right? I'm going to tell you what about the obsessive thinking and how crazy. And I know you guys know how crazy it is, but this is how I knew how crazy it was, right? So I would think about her and stuff like that, but it's like how I think about anything else, And there were times I noticed, because there was time like I told you, there was like 8, 9, it's like 7, 8 times before like anything like noticeable like happened. But like by that 8th or 9th time, you know, it just latched onto me and I was just fully in it, right? But before that, it was not really noticeable by me, even though I was fully aware of like what my mind was doing. It's just like I wasn't doing anything with it. So it would just kind of be there and it would go away quite quickly, actually. Where there was just a lot of thinking and feeling, even some frantic, like everything that comes along with the obsessive thinking. It's just, I never, like, I was just like, okay, but what is that? I don't even know what that is. What is that? That's not mine. I don't know what that is. And she was getting frustrated. Like, I didn't know what she was trying to do. And I don't know how, it latched on anyway. So when that happened and the obsessive thinking started, I didn't notice. Well, I knew. Like, I saw the whole thing, like the whole gradient. But what I mean is, I didn't notice how crazy it got until like 6 months, like 4 to 6 months, where I woke up one day and the only thing I was thinking about was her already. But it's like it was already happening. Like someone was using my mind while I was asleep, and then I like imagine I'm like a contract worker at a construction site, right? And I'm like working those John Deere things, the scoopers and the that sort of stuff. And I'm like, I'm gonna go take my break, get my ass up, scoop my unbuckle my belt, just buckle that thing, get out, go take my break, go get my chicken leg and my Coke or whatever the hell I'm gonna get, my whatever the hell I get, right? And I come back and the door's open. Someone was clearly fucking with it, right? And I'm just like, hey, what the hell's going on here? And that's what was happening with my mind. That morning, I noticed, because it was going crazy, like haywire. Like I noticed it before, but it was just kind of like, oh, you want to pick this up? But it was like, it was already like full force. I woke up. It was just like, what the hell? What's happening? And it wasn't until 4 to 6 months of that happening that it was just like, and it was just, so I expected it, because, so, I said she would come and go, and I went through, I didn't go through it, but I experienced the full thing of it, But it was like weird, because when it finally latched on to me, it was like, it wasn't until 4 to 6 months, and it had ramped up, because Kurt has used this analogy of like an odometer. It's like an odometer, and it like spins out of control and it starts breaking. How I would say it's like that, but like think of like an odometer for like a spaceship. So it basically has like no limit, or it can go like hundreds of thousands of kilometers an hour. So it has like a really big number, and it goes way, but it's like it has potentially no limit. Let's say. So it's something that can measure speed infinitely. So it just kept going way past normal levels, and then it got to like levels that shouldn't even be possible, and then past that, and then past that, and it did it very fast. And that's what was freaking me out more than anything. And then it was the fact that it was like a Jenga tower was building, and it was just building like crazy, and it was just like, I was just like, whoa, 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 chill, what's happening? And then like, she was sitting there like, like a little kid, like with a mischievous bad kid, like like who has never been spanked, like those bad kids who like that. I don't say that. I don't really think any kid, but you know what I'm trying to get the point across to you, right? Who like and then like the parent doesn't scold them and like stuff like this, and people don't really say anything. They're just like, ah, you know, and they're doing something like to do something real bad, and they're about to poke, like, you know, say there's like this big, it's like a birthday party, there's this big jumping balloon, you know, the huge one, you know, have you ever seen those ones where it's like these really super ones like those, but it's like a big one on top of a Jenga tower that's just building like crazy, and everybody's just partying and having fun, and the party's getting like out of control, like everyone's just suddenly on LSD, and like it's getting crazy, just, but like nobody, it's just like, it's just getting crazy, and there's this kid at the bottom that sees this, and it's just like, I'm gonna poke a hole in it, and they know that if they do that, it's gonna blow up, and like all this cash, and it's just like, I'm like, I can't stop it. I see it, and then she does it, and it's just like, and then it latches onto me. That was my experience, and that's what you guys are kind of going. It's an intense, crazy experience that you have to kind of fully go through. But how would I say? That obsessive thinking, what I noticed about it first was that it was out of my control. That's what I noticed. It was out of my control, completely out of my control. That was the first thing that I noticed about it. Well, like I said, it was like the first thing I noticed about it was how crazy it was getting. The second thing I noticed about it was that it was out of my control, because usually I could like step away a little bit, you know. If I had my foot anywhere near the gas, I could kind of take it and just like, ooh, let's take a breath, you know, take some momentum out of it. I was really, I never knew about any of this sort of stuff, but that was just something I used to be able to do. And well, you know, I've always been able to do that, but it's like when it was like with something like this, basically like a nuclear bomb went off, right? And you're trying to contain it, and it's just, you're not going to be able to contain it. And yeah, that's basically it. So anyway, that's a video. Little bit dragged out, kind of long. I mean, I feel like I probably could have went for a little bit longer and talked about a lot more. And maybe I will make a part 2. Maybe I will make a part 2. I'll make a part 2. I think the obsessive thinking is so crazy that it deserves a part 2. I just talked about like some, like the beginning, and like kind of what it's like, what it was like for me, and kind of what, you know, the mechanics of it and stuff like that. Now I'm going to, in the next video, we'll see maybe how long the second video is. Maybe there'll even be a third part to the obsessive thinking. I think it, like I said, I think it deserves it, because it's, anyway, I'll save that for a later video. Anyway, this is the end of the video. I'm going to, I don't know if the URL for my website is already on here. I'm not finished with it anyway. It doesn't even really matter. But I think that you can book consultations on there right now if you want to. Yeah, gonna work with me in a basic way right now. You know, I'd like to get something much more going, so something a much bigger thing going. But for right now, you know, basic consultations, which is, I think, useful for a lot of people, especially right now. You know, a lot of people prefer talking right now anyway, you know. So anyway, you want to work with me, my website, the URL to my website is in the about section or something of the YouTube channel, and it, just go to the you know, on the top there's a consultations. Click on that, go ahead and book. Anyway, talk to y'all later. See you in part 2. Don't know when. I think the day after this one, or the same week for sure. Not more than a couple days later after this one. Anyway, peace out.